Hello everybody, welcome back. So we're just going to have a look at a few coins today because I've got a little bit of time alone while the missus and the kids are out. So we'll start with Bitcoin. So first of all, we'll just have a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance and just refresh this chart to see what's going on. It was at 69% last night, so it's gone down a little bit. But generally speaking, it's going up despite the decline in Bitcoin's price. All the other coins have been are going down too at a faster rate. So Bitcoin's still dominant, to be honest with you, even though it's retracing in its value. So when we look at the Bitcoin chart here, we are on the 4 hourly, and one thing that points out to me is that we've got this a death cross with the 50 crossing over the 200 EMA, so that doesn't hold a great deal of relevance, to be honest with you, but it does mean a little bit of something. It doesn't mean much. It means short-term trend change, and we could be coming down back to test and break the 10,000 down to the 9,800 area. I think with or without this was probably going to be inevitable. This move that we had just recently with Bitcoin was just off the back of that announcement that BAC was going to be doing their thing. So it was just a bit of a it's just delaying the inevitable. So we had our bounce here just at the last minute, but we're probably going to be coming down to test 10,000. I reckon that's going to break. We can see how we recently just tested the 9,800 area. If that breaks, then we'll be down to the 9,200 area before you know it. This might not happen anytime soon, but we've got this 10,000 to break, then 9,800 to break, and then we'll probably be down here. Indicators suggest a little bit of wiggly sideways action. Our daily, let's have a look at our daily, would suggest downwards, and I imagine that the weekly is looking to make a cross shortly. Yeah, it is. So that all suggests downwards trend to me. And I would not be surprised, and we've kind of been waiting for it since this move from 11,200. Once that broke, we've kind of been anticipating that it would find its way back down to this area here of 9,200. Now, obviously, if that happens, that there's a whole other a bag of issues that could arise from there. But we're probably likely to see a bounce because we had this huge sell-off here from this area up here. That was bounced just above the 9,000 area. We came back up here, and actually you can see how this yellow 200 simple actually becomes a resistance. We bounced down from there and actually bounced back up from 9,200 area back up here down to here, and then just recently we even with the force of the announcement that was made, we still couldn't break above this area here of the this yellow 200 simple. So I would expect that we will over time come back down to test this blue box territory, but maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but over time. So let's have a look at some of these other coins. So MATIC on the Tether value actually looks okay. It doesn't look great, but it looks okay. We've got probably just moving sideways, maybe with a little further to go down. We're finding support here on this yellow 200 simple, and at the moment we're getting close. These guys are getting close to maybe crossing each other again for the down, creating sort of death crosses, you could say. Again, it's on the 4 hourly. 4 hourlies are okay to have golden crosses and death crosses, but it's not as good as a daily, for instance. But they're getting a little too close for comfort. What we need to see is some decent moves up. If Bitcoin moves down, MATIC is likely to move down as well, but maybe not as fast. So our Satoshi values may obviously decrease, but maybe not to the extent that would create this death cross. So we'll just have to wait and see. Something magical has to happen with MATIC for it to sort of avoid these, because if we look here on the Tether value, we had this descending trend that we bounced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rejections from. We had this upwards trend which we had support on 1, 2, 3 and quite a few times here, but it did break. So I would say that the trajectory for MATIC is probably down. We're finding bounces here on this 200 simple, and actually rejection on the 50 EMA. And this 50 EMA looks like it wants to go down still and cross over this white. That would signify a death cross. And the last time we had that was here, and you could see it's not as a result of that happening. It's it's a consequence of this happening. This death cross would happen. So we'll see what happens when that takes place. I mean, it could happen, and to be honest with you, it looks like it might happen. So we'll just have to wait and see. If that does happen, we'll be coming back down clearly to test this area here of 1.35 cent area, and if that breaks, which it probably will do, it'll be 0.12 cent our next support, where we broke out from here, and we also bounced here. But again, if we do test this area, we'll still be in a downwards trend, and again, it was like Bitcoin, we'll be delaying the inevitable, which would probably end up back where we started, just around or just below 1 cent. One is just pretty much trending the same as MATIC, just not with the same conviction. We never got a golden cross, so technically we're still trending beneath this 200 EMA, and when coins trend beneath 200 EMA, it's generally not a good thing. Once a coin breaks above there, especially if it's over time and organic, then that would suggest an upwards trend. This one still wants to go down, so that's what we look like with one. And if we have a look on the Bitcoin pairing, it's actually looking a little better. It's looking sideways, but again, it's just sideways. I would say that with this guy, similar to MATIC, it needs to have a decent breakout for the trend to really change, because we're trending beneath this here. So between the two, I'd say MATIC looks the stronger, but only just. That's because MATIC moves definitely with more conviction. With one, it did have its good news, but it didn't move in the same way. It didn't make those same leaps and bounds. Never mind. So another coin I've been looking at a little bit here is Phantom. Now, Phantom, when we have a look at it on the smaller time frames, it doesn't look all that great, to be honest with you. But it doesn't look all that bad either. One thing I would say is that it's a coin that I'm going to keep in my crosshairs. I'm not definitely going to be making any purchases of it, and you shouldn't do anything off the back of what I've been saying. Do your own research. I'm not a financial advisor. But one thing I would say is that it's got relative strength to it. It's got low volume at the moment, but it could be a coin that's worth keeping in your favourites, for instance. When the market turns around, which it will do at some point, this could be one of those coins that actually does quite well over a longer period of time. But at the moment, we're trending beneath all moving averages. We're actually still on a downwards trend. I can't really give you a bottom target on this one, as we're continuing to sort of test and make new lows. So it's still not bottomed out. If we have a look with the USD value, it's actually looking even worse than it does on the Bitcoin pairing. But that's fine. That's fine, because when we look at it with Bitcoin, the fact that it's going sideways and pretty much more or less is actual sideways suggests relative strength to Bitcoin. So I think when the market turns around, this could be a decent one to look at anyway. At the moment, we're definitely sideways with a little movement to the up, but I think still we're going to be going down simply because we're beneath all the moving averages, which are all facing down, and we've got the larger ones over on the top of the lower ones. So actually, the way that it's layered would suggest definitely more movement to the down. Link is looking pretty good, I would say. We're on the tether value here on the 4 hourly, and as we can see, we've got all our moving averages beginning to converge into this big, thick area of moving averages. We've got indicators suggest we want to have movement to the up, or just for today. Now, what looks like is going to happen, we've got this green, we've got this purple. The green is the 50, the purple is also the 50, but that's the simple. The purple needs to cross the yellow, the green needs to cross the white. They would be golden crosses, and this one looks a little better than MATIC in the way that it's slightly more organic growth, and it's generally a stronger coin with more volume. So if this does happen, which it probably will happen, we will see some nice big moves, I reckon, on Link shortly. But at the moment, we're trending at the top of the Bollinger Band, so it's not ready for its breakout yet. But given enough time, a few more days, for instance, then I would probably say we'll be looking to make new, not new highs, but new recent highs. The last big one that we tested here was $2.60. I think that could be taken out quite easily over the next week, and then a little more perhaps. So Link is definitely in my line of sight, and it's looking very strong against Bitcoin also, with more movement to the up. And again, look, we're about to have the golden crosses on the Bitcoin value, so we've got that one there. We've also got this one is likely to cross that one over the next few days if we carry on with this trajectory. So Link is looking very good, very nice. CELR very weak. CELR's very weak. It's one of those coins that should be doing okay, but the market just holding it back. If we look here on the Bitcoin value, it's just been going down and down and down with lower and lower trading ranges, but generally just moving down ever since we had our all-time peak, which was around here. Now I would basically say that soon we're going to be leveling out to an absolute almost minimal trading movement, and then all our areas will converge similar to all the other alts, and then we'll start to see movement. So this guy isn't going to move on its own, it's going to move with the market unless something amazing comes out with CELR that will help its price. But at the moment it's just going to continue going down slowly with the rest of the market until these areas all converge amongst each other, and it has to make a break one way or another. And the likelihood is it'll probably make a break for the up, because despite what you think of it, I mean the volume is tiny, the project is okay, it's still in its infancy, it's got a long way to go for a coin, so nothing's going to happen with it at the moment other than sideways and down. And again, we'll just have a quick look again with the tether value. The tether value is exactly the same. It did have that little movement alongside MATIC and One when they had their announcement. Just through association, it moved, but nothing really. So we'll leave CELR there, and just for a laugh, really, we'll just have a quick look at XRP. So we're on XRP here on the 4-hourly, and you can just see generally how it's been pretty tragic. Now this was an enormous move, this was a FOMO move without doubt. All the other coins are moving, this one just jumped right up, but it just came back all the way back down to test essentially and break new lows of the year. It's no that's just the Bitcoin value. But if we look on the tether value, we've actually broken and made a new low for the first time since in a year, and you can see how disappointing this coin is. Now, I do have a Telegram group, and we were talking about XRP and why it's such a disappointment. I would urge anyone who's interested to join our Telegram group. We've got some pretty knowledgeable people in there, and I would say that basically the way that I would see XRP, it doesn't represent the way that Ripple makes its successes as a company. That doesn't reflect in XRP's prices. So when people say, XRP's made this deal with MoneyGram, XRP's doing this, doing that, yeah, you'll see a little bounce, but that's not a realistic bounce. That's a bounce on the back of people buying on it's of XRP. It's not like a stock and share. It's not moving in the same way, and it won't move in the same way. It's not a coin that is going to make huge leaps and bounds off the back of the company Ripple's success. So I would basically always say to people, do your own research. If you want to buy Ripple, buy Ripple. I had a lot of Ripple in the last bull run, and it did very well for me. But I'm going to stay away from it on this occasion, because my technical analysis would tell me that it's one of the biggest underperformers of all these major coins, and there's not even a signal to tell me that it's ever going to look bullish anytime soon. And generally, if you stand back and think about it, there's not really a reason for it to make big moves. It's got an enormous supply. XRP is being flooded onto the market by Ripple, and even though a few get burned here and there with transactions, there's way more coming back into XRP than there is leaving it. So there's not really any sort of built-in inflation that really counts when there's more XRP coming onto the market through Ripple. It's not a coin for me, and I would suggest be very wary of buying it. I know there's a lot of people that really love the project, and think you can enjoy the project, but and the project is obviously quite useful for banks, but it's not likely to be useful for you with a chart that looks so dire. I mean, let's just have a look at this. We've got a daily chart here, and we have a look at it on the daily chart. It's basically sideways, flat, and bearish the whole time. Let's have a look at something else that's had the same. We'll just have a look at Bitcoin, for instance. We'll have a look at Bitcoin, and we can see a completely different vibe going on with Bitcoin. A completely different vibe. That's what a coin should be looking at in a market with an uptrend. Even when we look at some other alts, okay, so we'll just have a look at some other alts, okay. So we'll have a look at ADA. We'll have a look at ADA with the tether value. ADA did much better for itself as a coin, even though it's not got anything going for it really at the moment. So we had big moves around about this area here in April, and it stayed up and up until the market collapsed into itself. It's stronger than XRP, and XRP is the third biggest in existence right now. When it's making all these big deals and ADA's not making any, you have to wonder to yourself, have I been duped? So, like I say, I just thought I'd bring that one up just for a laugh, just to show everybody what we're looking at and what the problem is. There is a few problems, I can tell you. So we're looking at here on the daily, and then this is pretty bad on the daily. We've had a death cross here on the daily. That is really bad, and we've got a death cross here on the daily, which is really bad. So I think we've probably got lower to go before there's any kind of a reasonable bounce on XRP, because fundamentals and technical analysis will tell me that we're going to really struggle to break above 30 cents again. It will happen one day, but it's not going to be happening anytime soon. Anyway, I will leave it with you there. Thanks for watching. Join the Telegram if you're interested in that kind of thing. And I hope you have a nice weekend of what's left of it. Take care. Goodbye.